Hello and welcome to Sender Rope TV. Today's topic is Iran, and more specifically the Bush administration's raging desire to bomb Iran, and as well as AIPAC and the Israeli lobby, and just about every neoconservative group out there that you can find is looking to bomb Iran. And so I wanted to do a video about it and talk about some of the points and counterpoints and different things that are out there. I couldn't find really a lot of information, actual fact, and this is from groups like the Heritage Foundation and AIPAC and the Council on Foreign Relations, and all the groups that would push for this kind of agenda had no facts behind any of their supposed sources of information. And so I wanted to talk about a few different things. There's a lot of different stuff going on. Why is nobody really fighting against this? Well, it's an election year. Everyone talks about, well, the Bush administration wants to do this. Well, guess what? The Bush administration doesn't get to do anything without the say-so of the House and the Senate. There's a thing called checks and balances we have in this country. The things that happen in the Bush administration don't just happen because, well, gosh, the Bush administration wants the Patriot Act, so they got it. The Bush administration got the Patriot Act because those in the House and Senate voted to give him the Patriot Act. So nothing goes on at the White House. It isn't just a dictatorship. The things that happen in this country are happening because our politicians, those that are sent to represent us, aren't representing us, that aren't representing the best interests of this nation, that aren't representing the best interests of America or the Constitution, the oath they took to uphold. But let's look at Iran. Let's look at the reasons and the bullet points of it behind going into Iran. Iran has a long history of terrorism support and would give a nuke to terrorists. Yet never in the history of any nation state has there ever been an instance where they've given a nuke to a terrorist. You know why? Because they know exactly what would happen if it got found out, and everyone would know where it came from, that a country gave a nuke to a terrorist organization. Iran has a history of hegemony in the Middle East. That's funny. Because in the last 75 years, that's as far back as I looked, Iran never once invaded another country. Once. Ever. Not one time. Iran would use a nuke to push its radical Islamic ideas. You know, this is funny because for the most part, Iran is a fairly secular nation. They don't have Sharia law. Well, they might now. They haven't up until recently. In fact, it is the United States, it is other nations imposing their will upon other countries like Iran that give fuel to the crazy imams and the radical Islamists. So that argument really doesn't hold up. No alternative way to stop them. There's no alternative way to stop them. We're just bombing a country. That's the alternative. It's bomb them or just let them do what they want to do. And let's kill innocent women and children with our bombs, because there's no other way to stop them. At the very least, we could, without restrictions, and that's the deal. They won't want to sit down and talk to us, because every time we want to sit down and talk, we'll sit down and talk to you if you do this. So let's talk about who's pushing whose radical ideas on who. Iran is beating its chest and trying to provoke Israel by test firing missiles. Really, by test firing missiles. And I was like, oh, okay. Not in response to Israel's flying hundreds of jets in a military exercise. It was a simulation of a bombing run on Iran. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so they're beating their chest, not in, okay. Iran is supplying the Iraqi insurgency with weapons and IEDs. Actually, that turned out to be a total hoax. Oops. Yeah, that one didn't really work out so well. Because without the fever frothing at the mouth that everybody wanted to have for war with Iran, that didn't really work out so well. And so time actually got to pass, and we actually got to find out that something that the administration was telling us was just a big load of crap. So it turns out that, yeah, that's not really true. In fact, there were several generals in the Joint Chiefs of Staff that were saying I have no information that says that that's the case at all. Iran wants to wipe Israel off the face of the map. This is probably the biggest one that everyone keeps saying. Iran wants to wipe Israel off the face of the map. The new Hitler. Even though Saddam was the last new Hitler, now we've got the next new Hitler, and it's Ahmadinejad, and he's this very big, scary bad guy. Ahmadinejad was speaking of regime change and quoting the Ayatollah Khomeini. The Imam said, "This regime occupying Jerusalem must vanish from the pages of time." So I guess it's okay for us to do regime change. Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran. I'm about to get to the history lesson in a minute.